chopped off heads, fake heads and blood.
To me, riffs are fucking timeless.
You've got generations of people going to see them.
It's our best album so far.
The fans have been asking for it. They've been asking for it for years.
I would listen to it over and over and over again today.
It's that music we play, man. You're either going to like it or not.
There are satanic bands. Some of them really aren't.
We're playing the craziest drunken debauchery show we've played probably ever.
He is not in condition to be doing a podcast.
You're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Welcome back to the Great Metal Debate Podcast, episode 78, December 2024. And I'm back with Xander, counting down the best albums of 2024. Xander, I don't know about you, but this past year has been an amazing one for metal. So many shows and so many damn good metal albums. I just can't wait to talk about the ones that I've got on my list and to see the ones you have on yours.
I strongly agree, especially since, first tell me this. How many albums does it say on the Metal Archives were released this year?
Xander, according to the folks at the Metal Archives, just looking at full-length albums released in 24, the count is 8,957, nearly 9,000 individual heavy metal releases in the past year.
Remember last year how I said that I managed to listen to like 300 and something albums? That's increased like 3 times. Yeah, I found a lot more time to listen to new underground metal album releases this year, and I told you like 2 weeks ago that I had gotten to about 800 of those albums. I was also honest and said that I didn't listen to all of them all the way through. I just listened to like a few tracks to see if I liked it, and if I didn't like it, I turned it off. But listening to albums all the way through, it's got to be like at least 450 some odd full albums I've listened to this year.
Yeah, there were so many great ones and such a variety of styles. We were talking power, folk, melodic death, classic death metal, symphonic metal, black metal, just a glorious amalgam of styles and sounds across the board.
Yeah, I will say, though, out of all those albums, I've only listened to probably like 2 or 3 power metal records, but everything else has been like melodic death, melodic black metal, and everything else. But, nevertheless, there's still some great bangers that came out this year, undoubtedly.
Well, man, as always, I want to thank you because you have certainly shown the spotlight for me on some albums and artists that I otherwise would have missed.
As always, I've tried to really find the underground, diamond in the rough kind of bands that are kind of foreign and definitely lesser known and unsigned. Really shine a spotlight on the underground.
Well, I know we both had some artists that didn't quite make our top list, so let's do some honorable mentions starting out, Xander. We'll start with you, man.
Here's my list of honorable mentions. Symphony of Heaven, Ordo Aurum Archia. Nyctophobia, To the Stars. The Last Oblation, Apex. Rot, Dissolution. Oubliette, Eternity Whispers. Yoth Aria, Blazing Inferno. Wiedelate, Celestial Shrine. Wraithfire, Of Fell Peaks and Haunted Chasms. Inquisition, Veneration of Medieval Mysticism. Necro Knight, The Skull Throne. Ad Omnem Omnis, Shattering Bones. Dawn Treader, Bloom and Decay. And Dead Alive, The Madness of Dr. Ludwig von Brandmatter.
Xander, as always, you've come up with a great list of honorable mentions, and I've got to tell you, I always learn about new musicians from you, and that Rot, damn, man, that is such an incredible release. I was so impressed when I listened to that based on your review.
I literally just got a text back from Rot saying that they appreciated the kind words.
Very impressive, and I can't wait to hear your list of best albums.
Yeah. Anyway, tell me about your honorable mentions.
Here's my list. A dirty dozen that didn't quite make the cut, but still were outstanding releases in 2024. We'll start with Power Metalers Powerwolf with Wake Up the Wicked. Then a release that's Maybe not metal according to Metal Archives, but still a band I enjoy a lot. Escuela Grind with Dreams on Algorithms. Rotting Christ, Pro Christu. Tyr with Battle Ballads. Necro Wretch with Swords of Dajjal. Emiensis, Reclamation Part 2. The New Winter Sun, Time 2. Ad Infinitum with Abyss. Nightmare, Encrypted. Replicant, Infinite Mortality. Galnerius, The Stars Will Light the Way. And Russian folk metalers Wood Scream with Chiryeneta Yede Pitse. All right, man, with that due diligence out of the way, let's get to the meat of the matter. Your list of top 20 metal albums of 2024.
20.
Kicking things off, we have the Norwegian black and roll band Cold with their 8th album titled Du Dames Till Dod. I had never even heard of this band until March of this year, when John Barbas from Heavy Metal Philosophy featured it as his favorite album art of the week. If it was intriguing enough for him, it was intriguing enough for me. I'm glad I gave this one a few listens because it was a fun listen. To me, it sounds like what Rammstein would sound like if they ever switched from industrial metal to Satyricon-style black metal. Let me tell you, I'm all for it. Every song is a head bobber regardless if you have no clue what the lyrics are about. In fact, a few of the albums on this list have lyrics and song titles written in a foreign language, so this will be my first and last time mentioning that.
19.
Next up, we have the technical death metal band hailing from Cleveland, Ohio, with their strong debut, Violence Inherent in the System. If you're in the market for music with the bass volume turned way up in the studio mixing, look no further. Sure, there's plenty of other cool technical death metal bands out there where the bass riffs are audible, but do any of them make the bass playing the focal point of the band? If any besides these guys, please tell me the name of the band in the comments. Noxus shines a very bright spotlight on the member Dave Kirsch for seemingly being the vertebrae of the band. His exceptional playing is a standout among the players in the scene, and this band should never be overlooked.
18.
As I mentioned in my review, we are talking about the death thrash band Scolopendra from France, not to be confused with the Italian death metal band of the same name. Another thing to bring up about this Scolopendra album is that it's technically listed on Metal Archives as an EP. But for those of you who either didn't see that episode or simply don't remember, I had my reasons for including it on this channel. While I actually didn't hear that much thrash style in the guitar riffs, it's certainly capable of getting your head to bang and bang hard. Plus, they incorporate a lot of unique instrumentation to give a sort of steampunk feel. It sounds very mechanical with all the clicking gear noises and the pounding of red-hot steel against the anvil. It's all very rough and tough and makes you want to do manly shit like blacksmithing medieval weapons. So if you're feeling pissed off after a long, hard day on the job, throw this music on and life will start to feel better after the first track.
17.
The exact same thing can be said about the angriest record of 2024. Enter the Philadelphia-based debut from frontman CJ McCurry's new deathcore band Immortal Disfigurement. While this killer debut is loaded with chug riffs, they are complemented with some keyboard synth backtracks to give it a more symphonic flair. The star of the show is of course CJ's monstrous vocals that barely even sound human. To me, despite his past controversies, he is still the best vocalist in the entire genre alongside Ben Dewar, Adam Warren, and Alex Terrible. CJ truly is an unspoken king, with his immense lung power and animalistic gutturals. Originally, I had a lengthy review written for this, but I never got around to it due to time constraints. With that being said, even if you're an old school 90s era death metal fan who loathes deathcore, at least give this one a chance.
16.
Blaze of Perdition is a 20-year-old black metal band from Poland with an impressive 6-album discography. Truth be told, I've only known about these guys since 2020 when they released their previous full-length titled The Harrowing of Hearts. I remember some of my friends on Facebook really digging this one, but I myself never got around to listening to it. However, I did hear this new record titled Upharson, and I was very impressed. Similarly to the Finnish death metal band Adramalich, Sanilian has a slight whisper in his raspy vocal delivery. His cult-like vocals are perfectly layered over the mixture of classic buzzsaw and doomy slow-tempo black metal riffs. It sounds very dark, and I recommend this to anyone who wants to feel an ominous presence.
15.
Many of you might find the name of this one-man death metal band to be silly, but I assure you that Justin Longchair puts foot to ass when it comes to handling all instrumentation. He has been using his multi-talent skills to bring us a new Biscuit Merchant album almost every single year since 2017. This year's issue is titled Visible Scars, and the odd time signatures bring to life a very well-structured release. The music writing is solid, and so are the vocals. As I said last year with Abysmal Disarray, I have a deep respect for one-man death metal bands, especially if you can differentiate each song with distinguishable riffs. I have even more respect for you if your drum tracks don't sound like 500 BPM gravity blast beats on a ping snare. This guy actually knows how to craft his work into a pleasant listening experience. I actually made Justin laugh when I gave him my interpretation of the meaning of his band name. To share the hilarity, I will tell all of you as well. I told him that when I first read The Biscuit Merchant, I imagined the purple-cloaked merchant from Resident Evil 4, but instead of selling guns and ammo, he has a variety of biscuits displayed, each one from a different popular chain restaurant. Anyway, don't sleep on The Biscuit Merchant, go check it out, Visible Scars. The following 4 albums on my list are ones that I have done full reviews for, so without further ado, here we go.
14.
Straight out of Yonkers from the Big Apple, we have the brutal death metalers Malignancy with their 5th effort, Discontinued. I have always liked these guys, but there's something special about this one. Perhaps it's the more polished studio production with the flawless sound mix. Ever since its release in June of this year, it has remained a periodic jam in my car while I take short trips around town. It's a new comfort record that never fails to be a good time, and really scratches that death metal itch. When I showed my review of this album to the band, the vocalist Danny Nelson himself told me that sounding like Ross Dillon from Immolation was completely unintentional, but he still took it as a major compliment. They have also agreed to do an interview with me if they ever make it back down here to Tampa, and I'm excited and I can't wait.
13.
I would like to address the error I made while reviewing Cannon Fiver's sophomore record back in September. As it turns out, I haven't conducted enough research to know that this is another Black Braid type of situation. Noise is the only member of this band. He writes and records all the music, writes all the lyrics, and records all the vocals, but he has live band members. When I watched the live music video and live footage, I assumed that they were a studio group. My mistake. But this German black metal outfit is shrouded in the bleak history of World War I. In fact, Blaine Smith from Banger TV mentioned a lot of the lyrics are based on personal letters that were actually written by real trench soldiers. This makes everything about the music even more haunting, and even more of a selling point. Cannon Fiber is certainly a known band, but just because Noise is signed to Century Media Records, it doesn't mean that he is mainstream, so still go show your support.
12.
Coming from Louisville, Kentucky, we have an American melodic black metal band called Volcandra with their second full-length, The Way of Ancients. As an update from my review, I actually saw them live again during their album release show at Mag Bar. The back venue section of the building looked like someone's basement, which made the experience that much better. The stage was just a small platform, no taller than 6 inches off the ground, and they managed to get the St. Louis-based black metal band Stormruler to open for them. It was a great time, and I have revisited this album a few times throughout the year. For an underground band, they sure have some infectious guitar hooks, especially in the opening track Birth of the Nephilim. If you happen to live in the area, don't miss one of their shows. They're very entertaining and love to interact with the crowd.
11.
Anyone who knows me knows that I am very picky about the thrash metal bands I like, and one of the best this year has to offer came early on. An album that took 34 years to make has to be good, right? The answer is a resounding yes. These Tucson, Arizona thrashers have given us the best of the best angsty anthems to shout along to, thanks to their very catchy lyrics. I completely understand beer, but I never quite understood why a common food item like pizza has been associated with the genre, but it is what it is, I guess. So the next time you order a few pies, crack open a cold one and crank the volume on this classic-sounding thrash metal masterpiece.
10.
I like to thank my friend across the pond, Draco, for showing me this French black and death metal band called Corpus Diabolus. By the way, make sure you follow his Facebook page, Draco's Death Metal Reviews. You'll find a lot of underground gems on there. Anyway, this is their 5th studio album, Elixira Ecstasis. After I watched the music video for Chalice of Fornication, I was hooked. Demon Creator's vocals fluctuate from sounding like one of Batyushka's cultic choir to spitting venom in your eyes with the hate-fueled rasps. What sets these guys apart, of course, is the black and demonic choir and monk-like chants. It makes it all sound that much more diabolical. Obviously, there are some heavy mayhem influences, but the band makes it their own and harnesses pure evil like no other. Corpus Diabolus is probably the most sinister band I have heard since my second favorite album of 2022. It truly is that dark, and you might want to go to confession after listening to this one.
9.
Once again, I have to thank John Barbas for this one. The band is Folterkammer, which is German for torture chamber, and this is their new album Weber Macht, which translates to Power of Women. When this first came out, I had initially ignored it, but a week later, when I listened to the interview that he had with the lead opera singer, Andromeda, and I was intrigued. Before I knew it, I found myself absolutely captivated by her stunning soprano voice. Symphonic black metal is nothing new, but when you flip it the other way around to create blackened opera, it becomes incredibly unique. Never in my 20 years of being a metalhead have I ever heard black metal instrumentation with bel canto high notes in place of the vocals. Even if you're not a metalhead, I strongly recommend this one. Just so you know, all the lyrics are not only in German, but they all have a female dominatrix theme. Those of you who exclusively speak English will still have a clear notion of the very mature nature of the lyrics. So if you're a prude, stay away from it. But to everyone else who is a little kinky, check it out.
8.
Black metal promotion has long since been my number one outlet for the genre. However, this time around, I have discovered a new source for upcoming album releases. Volter was one of the many announced by Metal Collision, but when I checked out this Italian band's debut, Non Aro Sed Faro, I expected another run-of-the-mill raw black metal band. What I didn't expect was the incorporation of flutes. All I could imagine the whole time while listening was a snake charmer trying to make a king cobra stand straight up out of a basket jar. The entire album was genius because of it, and the catchy rhythmic flute in the song Conoratio was undeniably an earworm. Oddly enough, Metal Archive doesn't have this one categorized as black and folk, but at the same time, it's not quite as over the top as the likes of Fintroll. Rather, it's an even balance of being both harsh and meditative.
7.
It was announced last month on Facebook that both the drummer Thomas and bassist Jamie had quit the band. I wish them nothing but the best in whatever musical path they choose to follow. I just want them and the remaining band members of Lamentari to know that Ex Umbra in Lucium has earned its rightful place at my number 7 spot. This melodic death metal band from Denmark has more than impressed me with their soothing guitar licks. The few acoustic moments bring a relaxing quality to the overall atmosphere. And who could forget the mournful ballad Dolorum Memoria? It was the perfect single to lure in new listeners such as myself, with its saddening yet tranquil touch. The candlelit music video with that yellow color palette helped add to the band's aesthetic. I have the YouTube algorithm to thank for leading me to this one, so I guess I was one of the lucky ones to have this show up on my feed. Now I look forward to what they release in the future with the new band members.
6.
Now, I would like to thank Lindsay from the Heavy Metal Journal for showing me this one in her new Metal Monday video, which came out back in March. Duldsrit is a Swedish melodic black metal band that originally started as a one-man project who already had a few previous efforts. But now that he has gained members for a full group, this recording just might be his best work thus far. To me, Nocturnal Will sounds almost as wonderful as the classic late 90s era In Flames, but with a pair of novice vocalists. To be completely honest, I still can't fully bring myself to get behind the strained vocal fry, but the gorgeous melodies more than compensate for them. Rather than this being a backhanded compliment, I hope it's taken as constructive criticism to improve upon making those vocals sound even more bass-heavy. I strongly feel as though their magnum opus has yet to come, but I see these guys as having a bright future ahead.
5.
As I mentioned in my full Kanonenfiber review, the Germans have been crushing it in the metal scene this year. End of Sanctum is no exception to my observation, and their second album, Tales of Apathy, proves that. My favorite melodic death metal record of all time also hails from Germany, and these guys have managed to outdo one of my German honorable mentions by having even more memorable guitar riffs. I especially enjoy the guitar licks in the song Spit on My Grave. Some parts even reminded me of mid-2000s The Absence, another band that dropped a killer self-titled album back in March. But more people need to be listening to these guys. They definitely deserve the attention from big-name record labels. I hope these independent unsigned artists gain the recognition.
4.
Oh hey, would you look at that? Another German band. This time, gothic black metal with some clear industrial influences. Of course I'm talking about Isregen and their 16th record in their discography, Abart. This was the first album of the year I gave a solid 10 out of 10 rating to, as nothing had fully impressed me until this point early in August. Feel free to check out my full review where I explained why I thoroughly enjoyed this one so much.
3.
No disrespect at all to Sweden, as they are often looked at as melodic death metal mecca, but if I'm being honest, Finland has been outshining them in recent years. Exhibit A, Torchia. Torchia is another band that needs more support. After they listened to my review of Arcane Magician earlier this year, the vocalist himself complimented my vocals on the Great Metal Debate's Instagram. I still plan on purchasing the Zip Up hoodie from their Bandcamp page during the next Bandcamp Friday, because that bit of merch is freaking sweet. I hope they end up touring the United States one day, because judging from their live videos, they look like they have a captivating performance.
2.
It didn't take long before East Reagan was blown out of the water by Officium Tristi. Hortus Venenium might be their 7th full-length, but it's my first introduction to this atmospheric death doom band from the Netherlands. The opening track, Behind Closed Doors, was stuck in my head for nearly 3 weeks. I kept repeating it out loud while driving by myself or anytime I was home alone. Behind Closed Doors. Yes, the entire album is beautiful too. Particularly the 4th track, Walk in Shadows, was a mournful treat to the ears. So much about it reminded me of last year's number 2 spot, Ocean of Grief. To me, it was the closest in resemblance to that depressing work of art, and that's why it has earned its high rank on my personal tier list. But just like every year, there can only be one winner.
1.
The month of October was loaded with this year's best metal album releases, though one has stood tall above them all. I have known about Odious from Egypt since 2011, when I first heard their 2007 debut, Mirror of Vibrations. Back then, they were a cross between melodic black metal and Middle Eastern folk music. It was a unique blend of ancient Arabic stringed instruments with black metal. Just like with a band like Lakathia of Flame or Nather, this band also sounded like a soundtrack of the Sahara Desert. Equilibrium Tool has evolved into what I can only describe as the love child of Septic Flesh and Flesh God Apocalypse. This genre switch to symphonic death metal is pure musical perfection. This band has once again captured lightning in the bottle with their female operatic vocal mixture and modern-day piano symphonies. The glorious musicianship combined with the variety of percussions and orchestrations make this a flavorful listening experience. I can't truly pick a favorite because every track is just that immaculate, but Clown King was that one that kept my full attention from that brass tuba in the beginning, making the mock circus music. This rhythmic tempo also stands out in the tracks Thy Tool and Past Cosmos. The funny thing is, I had no idea this album had come out. 2 weeks after its release on the 5th was when I simply thought about the debut and their 2015 sequel, Skin Age. So I looked at Metal Archives and I saw the new entry. It was too late to review, but I reached out to the band and told them how much I enjoyed it. It's always cool when they message back and tell you that they appreciate the kind words. There isn't much more I can say other than you just have to experience it for yourself. As a matter of fact, here's the song Clown King right now, check it out.
I see the blood, it carries away the will and choice. Secrets have moved to a greater place, coated in ice. One child who lives committed the rocks to murder still. It does your eyes, it draws a heart, wonder your life. dirty soul. I let you love this to rip your heart out of your hole. The cloud once said and done. Midwinter dance, tormentor. Curse, curse. The crowd watch and observe. Sad, the clown has gone so mad. He's a sense of humor, all greed. The king was not so kind. This clown was deep inside. Then the clown untied the knot, yet was left to rot. I make your dream, I swallow your hope. I fill your wings, I thaw your rope. I lay down on your body and lick your dirty soul. I let you lost this sex and rip your heart out of your hole. Now, all I recognize, poor man who realized he was meant to be the king, but the clown is other side. Now, all hear the echo. Yes, Lord, you are the chosen one. Fate has made a road to follow, but his crown was never gone.
I began at 20 with U.S. metal newcomers Viper Witch and their innovative album Witch Hunt Road to Vengeance, released just this past Halloween by Stormspell Records. I met and got to see those guys perform earlier this year, and I couldn't be more impressed with the energy and passion they brought to the stage. Nonetheless, I was taken aback by this debut full-length album. Raw, clever, surprising, and a damn exciting listen. While for me, Unleash the Archer's synthwave experimentations on Phantoma didn't really hit, Viper Witch absolutely capture a unique feel in the way they deftly infuse the style on Witch Hunt Road to Vengeance, not unlike a rawer version of Beast in Black. Impressive work for this Denver-based outfit, and 100% worthy of inclusion on my best of list for 2024.
19.
I had Nocturna's debut album, Daughters of the Night, as my number one metal album of 2022, and for good reason. It was glorious. Their sophomore release, Of Sorcery and Darkness, is more of the same, ranging from classical-sounding compositions like Seven Sins and Sapphire. It's another outstanding album, my only real criticism being that Nocturna didn't move the needle even further in exploring the possibilities of marrying these two amazing singers. Great work as always by guitarist and composer Federico Mondelli, who will make another appearance with an album on my list shortly.
18.
2024 was a fabulous year for folk metal, with a number of fresh faces as well as veteran acts releasing new music. In the latter category, Finnish legends Ensiferum returned with their first new album since 2020's Thalassic. While they didn't find the new release Winter Storm to be quite as strong as the last, The band still has something to prove and go about their work ably. The thing about Insiferum is that somehow even the weaker tracks have some punch, as the band has a strange ability to pull off what might just be dorky material in the hands of lesser musicians.
17.
Invoking folkish flair, but also a laundry list of other influences, is my number 17 pick, Fall by Norwegian metalers Borknagar. This release won't be a complete surprise to fans of the band, but I do think that it's their strongest effort since 2020's Winter Thrice. Just an expansive and mesmerizing compilation of tracks. Highlights include Nordic Anthem with its desperate rhythm and surge of heavenly orchestration, the 7-minute epic Summits, in my opinion one of their best album openers, and the potent prog riffing of Unraveling. Fall is proof there remains a lot of life left in this outstanding and reliable Norwegian act.
16.
Leaves' Eyes is a band I've followed closely since Symphonies of the Night. A lot of water has passed under the bridge since then, and it's hard to believe that Elena Sarala will have been with the band for a full decade in 2025. Their new album, Myths of Fate, doesn't find Leaves' Eyes doing anything other than what they always do, playing great folk-infused symphonic power metal whose best feature is the contrast between Sarala's cleans and Alex Kroll's growls. There are a few new twists, as in the innovatively arranged vocal delivery on Into Eternity, but otherwise the band plays it fairly safe. I had a full review of this album earlier in the year, so check it out if you want more analysis. In summary, if you are wanting genre reinvention, you might look elsewhere, but for compelling symphonic melodic metal, Myths of Fate is a can't-miss selection.
15.
Another album I reviewed this year was a new one from UK brutal death metalers Ingested, titled The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams. I first saw these guys a few years back in Nashville and was truly blown away by their performance on stage and kind disposition off. But what happens on record is really where the rubber meets the road, and the band doesn't disappoint here. The guitars deliver a disgustingly beautiful tone, and the drums hit hard, bringing dynamic blast and double kick patterns on constant rotation in each song. And beyond the slam riffs, tremolo picking, and core elements, the guitars disgorge some surprisingly melodic thoughts. All in all, the formula used on this record works very well, never falling into monotony. Sadly, this marks the band's final release with dynamic frontman Jason Evans, a strong close to this chapter in the band's history.
14.
I'll admit some fear when I learned one of my favorite Italian bands, power metalers Frozen Crown, were releasing an album through Napalm Records. I'm not knocking Napalm. They have a roster full of amazing bands, and a few that are absolute shit, but more of a concern that this change might come with a rethinking of the band's sound and rebranding of their pleasantly nerdy look and style. Fortunately, that was not the case, as the new album War Hearts has all the perfectly performed power metal cliches I've come to expect from Frozen Crown. A clean yet aggressive power metal sound compared to most of what one will find in the Italian power metal scene, including featured guitarist Federico Mandelli's two other bands, Nocturna, whose album Of Sorcery and Darkness came in earlier on my list, and Vulturion.
13.
Volume 1, Hymn of the Hunters, is a debut release from North Carolina progressive death crew Vorath. Vorath's sound is a bit difficult to pigeonhole, with elements of death metal, prog metal, and loads of sci-fi cinematic feel. The album contains a helping of ridiculously complicated songs, creative time signatures, paradoxical vocals, dissonant riffs, and haunting melodies. While there are numerous different genres of metal being blended across this album, the bulk of it is effectively delivered aggressive death metal that won't be foreign to fans of incantation or cattle decapitation. In that sense, maybe not filled with earwormy hits that might appeal to the classic metal crowd. Nonetheless, this release from Vorath is definitely worth checking out.
12.
At 12, I have long-standing Canadian power metaler Striker with Ultra Power. This one is a true guilty pleasure, but I'm not so embarrassed as to leave it off my top albums list. Ultra Power contains nothing but unadulterated, high-octane nostalgia-packed songs with tons of energy and feeling. You have party rockers like Sucks to Suck, catchy numbers like Ready for Anything, and even the power disco anthem City Calling. The album rivals anything Rat or Dokken put out back in the day. Now, I totally understand that this retro stadium hair metal sound might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it works for me as delectable cringe. If you yearn to grow your mullet back out and return to the ridiculousness of 80s aesthetics, Striker's Ultra Power is your ultimate gateway drug.
11.
One of the new releases in 2024 I was most looking forward to was Absolute Elsewhere by Blood Incantation. I thought Starspawn was a classic and transformative in the genre, but in hindsight found their last release, Hidden History of the Human Race, to be a bit disappointing. Well, Blood Incantation are back, and in a big way, and their new album definitely doesn't disappoint. 6 new tracks that largely feature their mercurial blend of old-school death metal ladled with progressive soundscapes. Fans of both Obituary and Opeth will find plenty to like in this ambient, experimental output. Indeed, my sole criticism of the album is the song names. Damn it, Blood Incantation, for all your artistry and unconventionality, it shouldn't be too much to ask for you to come up with 6 unique song titles.
10.
Entering the top 10 is a release from Austria, Dumwata by Perchta. Perchta is both a band as well as the name of the band's mysterious frontwoman. Dumwata is a truly impressive offering and clear evolution and improvement from the first full-length album, Ufang, released in 2020. This new album is rooted firmly in the black and folk metal realms, but listening to Dumwata, you'll also find it sneakily melodic, and there's a menagerie of other influences that conjure medieval, epic, extreme, and atmospheric sensations for the listener. Tracks like Oisvis Monsin and the title track are just extremely well composed, bringing a richness of themes and textures and highlight the skills of the various musicians in the band. Perchta brings a genuine charisma to their performance, whether delivering clean, folk-esque singing or high-pitched black metal rasp. In conclusion, all I can say about this album is that I like it. A quite good and refreshing album, which is interesting and a distinctive artistic touch.
9.
Fleshgod Apocalypse released Opera this year, the band's first new release since 2019 due to the near tragedy that befell frontman Francesco Paoli. Well, Fleshgod are back, and Opera is a stunning success that showcases the band's thoughtful song construction that's part mainstream and part extreme. The band is in top form here, slaying the listener with their unique sound, and particularly their masterful use of classical piano and orchestration. Paoli's vocals are excellent, whether giving corrosively evil snarls or delivering cool, clean singing. And of course, I'm always pleased to hear the contribution of soprano Veronica Bordacini adding her touches on female vocals. Opera is a modern and uniquely presented return to the world stage for this brutal yet bold Italian symphonic death metal project.
8.
At number 8, I have U.S. symphonic indie metalers Aftertime with their sophomore release, Arcane Horizons. Aftertime delivers their melodic symphonic concoction with a clean and airy vibe, great melodies, and capped by the outstanding vocals of frontwoman Sarah Wolf. Aftertime brings a distinct and fresh approach to the genre, and there's a good mix of different types of songs that makes the album Arcane Horizons eminently listenable. To the chagrin of many, Wolf departed the band following their performance this past August at Mile High Power Fest in Denver, a show I was blessed to witness, with her place already filled by another singer. Only time will tell whether the new version of Aftertime is as compelling as the original, but certainly Arcane Horizon stands as a testament to what the band had to offer in this year, and what it delivered was of high quality.
7.
Another independent release, this time from Poland, is Porgozalisko by Velisar. I love folk metal, and beyond that, I particularly love the Polish brand of folk metal, embodied by acts such as Runica, Merkfolk, and Journa, which have come to dominate the European scene. Velisar are in that camp, and this is their third full-length album. Porgozalisko has exactly what the folk fanatic craves: heavy, uplifting songs that bring the flute, guitar, and violin together with immense impact, and the vocals are blended together in beauty. These Slavs really know how to satisfy with well-executed writing and strong musicianship. But most incredibly strong are the melodies we find on Za Sabato and Ostatni Standar. In a nutshell, Porgozalisko shows that Velisar continue to win at music with their brand of folk metal that's a mile beyond the cliches.
6.
German melodic death metal communion Deception returned in 2024 with De Nocte, the band's fourth full-length album with a few EPs thrown in for good measure. De Nocte continues in the general style of its predecessors, good consistency, but with some innovations of style and emphasis. The songs are all outstanding, showing the group as a whole know what to do as a songwriting unit. Monophobic, Beheaded on Your Way, and King of Salvation are all killer tracks, compelling and sophisticated, with some symphonic sound thrown in for good measure. Overall, the album has a great groove and harmonic balance, but the majestic soundscapes are what take the music to the next level. Fans will definitely want to check the band out live next year when hopefully they continue touring in support of this one.
5.
I'll admit a strong affinity for Canadian metal clan Lutharo, whose new album, Chasing Euphoria, I reviewed positively earlier this year. My opinion hasn't changed since that time. Indeed, if anything, I've come to appreciate it even more, having had the opportunity to hear the band play many of the tracks live. Chasing Euphoria finds Lutharo building on the strengths of their previous album and EPs to deliver their strongest and most mature musical release to date. Chasing Euphoria is not short on surprises, with special moments including the epic buildup of Creating a King and the passionate delivery the band gives in Time to Rise. But the greatest surprise is definitely the 80s themed Born to Ride, with its catchy chorus and the fantastic retro vibe. It's incredibly hard to find fault with this album. Great guitar work, stellar vocals, and machine-like drumming from veteran skinsman Corey Hoffing. I certainly urge metalheads to check out Chasing Euphoria in all its glory.
4.
I have to credit my man Xander on this one. I had no idea Alkanost had released a new album until he told me earlier this year. I'm pretty embarrassed I missed it, although in my defense, their band promotion tends to be in Cyrillic Russian, which I have difficulty reading. Of course, I immediately downloaded this new release, Dar Salamander, from Bandcamp and began a period of renewed worship at the altar of pagan metal. This new Alkahest is damn good material, certainly their best release since 2016's Irlilia Gillendoy. While I've enjoyed their last few albums, Dar Salamander returns Alkahest back to their sweet balanced spot of keys and guitar right in line as they conjure the folk melodies. Andrei Losev has been toiling at his craft for many years, and you can hear the experience in the song construction and guitar work. And certainly Ksenia Poboganskaya's vocals are as strong as ever. She is the Tsarina of Russian folk metal. While I understand that non-English lyrics aren't for everyone, actually I don't understand it, but I grudgingly acknowledge the reality. I urge everyone who hasn't discovered Alkahest to find and listen to this music made for pure and unhindered enjoyment. Highly atmospheric and evocative, listeners will find themselves reminded that music is beauty and art.
3.
It's impossible to please every faction of a fan base like the one Dark Tranquillity has accrued over a career spanning from the mid-90s up until the present. Despite this, their latest album, In Time Signals, successfully manages the tension of appealing to the greatest possible number within said audience. On its musical merits, this is an album that presents the melodic death metal style as a balanced middle ground between its 90s roots and its current state, and arguably takes a few more cues from the past than it does the present in terms of songwriting and execution. It's not in any way a retread of the Haven and Damage Done eras of DT, nor wisely does it attempt such a feat. Rather, In Time Signals showcases a band that definitely has the potential to evoke the past while residing in the present, bringing a solid slab of modern melodic coldness with a catchy edge to boot. And I say that as someone for whom the 2000s are my favorite era of melodeath, which is one of my favorite genres of metal music, period. Anyway, it is fabulous, so check out In Time Signals if you haven't yet, and if you have, keep playing it and loud.
2.
Every few years, Seven Spires releases a new album, and each time I expect it can't be better than the last. Yet somehow every time, this band ups its game and delivers an improvement on genius. They've done it again with A Fortress Called Home. Jack Costo, singer Adrian Cowan, bassist Peter Durania, and departing drummer Chris Dovas are among the most talented musicians one will find in metal. Whatever classes they took at Berklee School of Music should be required attendance for musicians who want to practice the metal craft. The funny thing is that, on a certain level, what Seven Spires does isn't that complicated, taking traditional symphonic power metal and infusing it with black metal shrieks along with some innovative theatric flourishes. Yet as in most endeavors in life, it's all about the execution, and Seven Spires execute at a level few can, with the result being that they are simply playing on a different dimension than most of their peers. Every track on A Fortress Called Home is great, but this concept album is more about crafting a complete story than a collection of singles. Another fabulous achievement from a group that has become my absolute favorite U.S. metal band.
1.
For my top metal album of 2024, I present Rankorompu from Finnish folk metal vets Korpiklani. This is a masterwork of dancey and dramatic fur-clad headbanging. You can check out my full review of this album from earlier in the year for all the details, but suffice to say I held it very high after my initial listen, and it hasn't lost its place atop my personal playlist since. It's great to listen to as a complete album, but each individual song stands on its own as well. Tracks such as Suonen, Tapasen Kun Kirkit, and Tomisto are all classic Korpiklani. This is often overstated, but there's truly not a bad song on the album. Rankorompu is party music, but it's not merely a party. This is a giant celebration of all that folk-infused heavy metal has to offer, all powered by the furious duels between guitar, violin, and accordion. Every folk metal maniac needs this album, and even metal fans who aren't particularly partial to the genre need to check it out. We'll finish out with a song from Korpiklani. This is the title track, Rankorompu.
No nyt on aika laittaa hihat heilumaan. Saarita pois
Xander, before we wrap things up for the year, I would be curious for your preview of some albums in 2025 that you're looking forward to.
Yes, Gomthog, I have a whole list here of albums that I'm highly anticipating for the year 2025. And starting things out, we have Patriarch with their album that I can't read because it's in Russian Cyrillic, but that comes out on January 3rd. And then on January 24th, we have Fleshbore with Painted Paradise. Also on the 24th, we have Void Fallen with Rituals of Resilience. And then on the 31st of January, we have Design and Creation with Origin. Another one that we have on the 31st is Maceration with Serpent Devourment. Moving on over to February, we have Soar with Amidst the Ruins that comes out on the 4th. And then 3 that come out on the 7th of February, we have Majestica with Powertrain, Obscura, Asonication, and Phrenolith, Ashen Womb. But then on the 21st, we have Scour with Gold, Notch Blunt with Tolchik, and on the 28th, there is Grima with Nightsaid. Another one that comes out on the 28th is a melodic death metal band called Serenity and Murder with their album Timeless Revere. Moving on to March, we have Cryptosis with Celestial Death that comes out on March 7th. And then on March 28th, we have Arch Enemy with Blood Dynasty. There's a couple other albums that I'm going to mention that have currently unknown release dates, and that is Scathos with Cult of Uzura, Svabhavat with Venomous Execration, and Frost from Hungary is currently working on a project that has an unknown release date and an unknown album title. But they say that it should be released sometime in September, so definitely got to look forward to that.
That's an impressive list. Some names on there I didn't know would be releasing albums, to be honest with you.
I'm curious about your albums that are coming out in 2025. What is something that you look forward to?
I've just got a few. Currently working on a review that should be coming out before the end of the year for the new The Halo Effect. Also anticipating releases from Elven King, Elvete, Primal Fear, and Labyrinth. But I'm sure, as always is the case, there'll be releases from 2024 that I'll just be finding out about next year, which is part of the beauty of metal. There's so much good stuff out there. That's all for this show. Be sure to check out all our content on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes, and keep up with the Metal Debate by liking and following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just use the keyword Metal Debate to find us. Until our next podcast, sell your soul for metal and defend it until your dying day.